Hi, everybody. This is Barbara Marison from joyandsuccess.com. And I'm working today with Darlene Mon- I'm sorry, Darlene
Montgomery.
Montgomery, right? And I love her. She's just amazing. And she does a lot of soul work and tapping work and has hit me on a different level. I've gotten deeper into my own healing and my own growth. And I know that you'll get a lot out of her. So thank you so much, Darlene, for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing to meet you, and I'm just honored to be here with you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you got started. We tried to do this the other day and it didn't work. Maybe I'm able to get it again, but let's just explain how you got started in doing what you're doing. And
Yeah, well, it's hard to really, every time I think about it, I go farther back, but I guess it started when I was a child and I was searching and I was seeking, and I was seeking in my dreams for a master, for someone to teach me and help me understand why I was here. And I spent a long time learning what my personal soul mission was. And in the meantime, I wrote 7 books, and I wrote one book about dreams. I studied probably 30 to 40 different modalities, but something never quite clicked until I found the work, constellation work, which is ancestral work. It really brought all the elements together, and it helped me to make sense of a lot of the trials and problems that I'd had my whole life, including emotions I was carrying and things I was feeling that really didn't belong to me, but I didn't understand, the science of it.
mm,
And now I kind of understand it, and I'm able now to assist others with it because of this amazing work. And it's not just constellation work. It's a combination of energy medicine, uh, a belief work, understanding something called reversals, where we may have beliefs that work completely against our betterment. A lot of things that just came along, and I just kept learning and packing this package of information and science and spiritual healing modalities together. It's just been remarkable.
well, I mean, you've been amazing for me. Like I said, like it's gotten me on a deeper level. As much as I love the tapping, I think the constellation work with families and ancestors really has hit me a lot, that and probably a lot of other people who don't deal with that, who don't go that far. I mean, they don't go deep at all, let alone focus on ancestors. And I know, like you do, a lot of different kind of tapping and different kind of energy healing work, that I'd like to do some of that. And why do you think that people, our soul is trying to get our attention, but we're not really listening to it? Why do you think that is?
Well, we're not taught to listen. We're taught to listen to others' opinions. We're taught to disregard ourselves and disregard our intuition. A lot of the people who come to my classes, that's the one thing I teach them, is to listen to themselves, to listen to their intuition again. And it's incredible how much resistance you get to that in our society.
Mm.
People are taught to listen to government news. It's going on right now. They're listening to any advice that comes from a square box, but they don't listen to their own heart and to their own personal reasoning, rather than just going along with whatever trend is happening in society. They'd rather belong to that trend than to listen to themselves and do what's best for themselves.
Yeah, I think you're right. And a lot of people, they want to be in with the in crowd. And the in crowd is listening to the TV, and they're listening to the president-elect and all the scary things out there. Instead of, I know, like being on my own journey and trying not to listen to all of that stuff and listen to myself, I'm in the minority. And it can be challenging at times,
Yeah.
to find other people like me, or like that are on the spiritual path and who are trying to listen to their own heart and not listen to the world. And I think probably a lot of people just need to belong. And even if it's belonging in the wrong, something that's harming them, they still want to belong. So, have I
Sorry,
lost?
I think we just lost our connection there.
Is it
I
back?
mean, really lost our connection.
Really? Is it back? Did we get it back? No, I guess not. Um,
Oh,
hopefully,
there you
there.
are. There you are. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
we were frozen,
yeah.
completely frozen for a second there.
I hope in the future that it'll never happen again to anybody. That we won't get frozen. They'll perfect this somehow. Um, but like I was talking about belonging and whether or not they're belonging to, they want to belong, whether it's helpful for them or not, they still want to belong. So why don't you take us on some of your modalities that you do that are so helpful? Boy, seem to be gone again.
Yeah, well, I've always been a very big leader, I guess you can say. Like, there's people in society that have been put here to kind of break through the norms and to, it's not a fun position to be in when you're the one that knows something first. And people who know something first are often ridiculed when they try to tell others about it. And spirit will try in all its different ways to get through to us, to try to get us to hear. But I don't know if you've ever seen The Truman Show, but he was in a movie that he was the subject of and not realizing he was in this movie. And we're kind of like that. We're in a movie that we're the star of that. And we need to pay attention to the details around us and not be sleeping in our own show. And one of the things that helps us is our dreams. Our dreams will tell us the truth about life. They'll give us clues. They'll help the truth about others that we're dealing with. They'll give us the backstory so that we can avoid problems. They'll help us financially, show us what I remember having this dream with my brother came to me and he said, if you don't get a new accountant, you're going to lose a lot of money this year.
Wow.
And I had a horrible accountant and I switched over, and it was the first year I actually got some money back. The first year, many years I'd ever gotten any money back. And, we need to realize that spirit has our back. It's trying to protect us. It's trying to guide us and teach us. But we're so sure we know that we often just will not listen, because we're so sure we understand the truth about what's going on in the world, and we won't listen to other things because we are so certain that we know. And that's getting a lot of people in a lot of trouble right now.
Do you think it's getting better? I know, like what they say that with this pandemic, that it's opening people up in the world. Do you think it's getting better? Do you think it's getting worse? Are people starting to go inside instead of looking outside?
That's a very good question. I can't really say. I think that people are waking up to deeper truth, but on the other hand, there's a lot more polarity right now than there's probably ever been for many, many years.
Yeah.
Which happens in this type of environment is a lot of polarity, a lot of opinions, a lot of dividing. So as much as there's people waking up, there's also more divide. I mean, I have friends I can't talk to at all, who won't talk to me because they're so afraid of going out, of seeing anyone without a mask on. They will not see me. So there's a lot of divide, but there's people waking up to truth too. And it is when things get very tough, that's when we tend to wake up. For some of us, it has to get extreme before we'll wake up.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I have a hard time talking to people that I know, and I keep it very light, and I don't go into deep anything, and don't share my opinion with most people because they don't want to hear, and it's
No.
upsetting. But I guess I have to honor them on their journey. That's their journey right now, and find people like you. I mean, that there are a lot of people that believe the way that I do, And that's comforting. Even if you're 3,000 miles away in another country, it's still comforting. So why don't you take us on some of your wonderful tools that you do to turn us
Yeah.
to give.
Well, I want to talk about what we were talking about before you switched on the camera,
Okay.
and it was about mother, the role that our mother has in ancestral work. And our mother represents money.
Yeah.
And if we have a break in the tie with our mother, if we have like resistance to our mother, if we have opinions and resentments to our mother, then our finances are going to be a mess.
Wow. Wow.
And no, regardless of what your mother did, it's important to take your mother, to have her in your heart, to embrace. I don't want to use the word embrace, but to see the good. I mean, you wouldn't be here without your mother. That's the first thing. For the very fact that you exist here in this planet is because of your mother going through, you came out of the birth canal. And so for me, it's been very important. I had very deep financial issues. Understanding that my mother was a very important factor in my whole journey, and taking my mother and acknowledging her and really seeing the truth of what she provided has helped me take a huge leap forward financially.
Wow.
And this has only been in the last couple of years that I've been doing this work.
How does
But
how does your mother get so involved, or how do we get involved because of our mother and finances? How does it connect? Because of survival? Because she's
maybe it's because, yeah, she provided, money represents the sustenance of, we have to have money to survive. She provides, she brings the food, she brings, in my case, my mother bought the house that we lived in.
mm,
She had to hide the money from my dad. He
yeah.
took the first down payment and bought a car with it.
Wow.
And so she hid the down payment for this house. And then it was because of her we had the house.
Wow.
And my mom did so much. Like, she had her things, believe me. My mom had some pretty bizarre stuff that she did. But since I've acknowledged her, and it's more than acknowledge, you need to see it as the family soul. You're tied and connected to every aspect of your family soul, regardless of whether you believe it or not. If you think you've done yourself a favor by disconnecting from your mom physically and never seeing or talking to her again is not going to help you. It's
Yeah.
not going to do any good
Or
for
if
you.
she's even if she's passed over.
No, even if she's passed, and that's a very good point. You can still talk to soul especially when they've passed over, you can talk to another soul in your family unit. And I've done that. I'll give you a quick story. This is not about mother, but it'll give you an example of how deep this goes with ancestors. So for many years, I had this feeling of being trapped. And I was always looking to go somewhere. And it was like this futile feeling that I could never get away to where I wanted to be. And my dad was sick with a very serious form of Parkinson's, which he couldn't talk, he couldn't walk, he couldn't hear, he couldn't speak. It was pretty bad. And I was visiting him in a nursing home. On either side of him, in both rooms next, on either side to the right and left, were two people called McAuliffe. My mother's maiden name was McAuliffe,
Wow.
Maltese. So one day I talked to the gentleman who was the father of the two children in these two rooms, and the boy had Huntington's. They both had Huntington's.
Mm.
So that night I'm sitting there and I'm doing a meditation, and I'm feeling this trapped feeling. And I hear them laughing, my guides, and they're like, "We made this so easy for you. Who had Huntington's in your family?" My mother's brother had Huntington's, my Uncle Frank. He was a sailor. He died curled up in a ball in a nursing home, forgotten, excluded. They never gave him a memorial. It was like he was completely excluded. In constellation work, when someone is excluded, they need to be included to complete their cycle. And the younger person in the family carries something for them until they're included. So I sat there and I talked to my Uncle Frank. I said, you are my family and I honor you. You belong. And I welcomed him into our family again.
Mm-hmm.
Within a half an hour, my cousin, who hadn't acknowledged my uncle in 10 years since he died, posted a picture of my uncle wearing his sailor uniform on Facebook.
Wow. Wow.
And posted a picture of him for 3 nights in a row wearing his sailor uniform. My uncle wanted to be free. He wanted to go out to sea. He tried to take my mother with him in the last few years of life. They went on several cruises and then he finally fell down on board because, you know, his body gave out. So I was caring for him. And once I acknowledged him and included him, he could be free and I could be free. And that's how it works with constellation work.
Wow, that's amazing. I think like, yeah, carrying other people's stuff is something that we all do, and we don't realize it. And I know like sometimes when something's affecting me really strongly, I'm like, it can't be just me. I must be carrying somebody else's stuff. And
That's it.
sometimes I'm able to figure it out, and sometimes I'm not. And but when I do, I get a whole lot freer. And
Yes.
it's amazing. Like now, do you need to? I mean, you can run away from your mother, and you can run, not talk to her. But is it something like not having her back in your life on a soul level, but and forgiving? Do you need to forgive her if you've been angry at her?
It's not about forgiving so much because we see perpetrators differently in this work. You know, there's really no difference in a sense between the perpetrator and the victim in this work. They both have to connect, and they will actually attract each other because there's something that has to be resolved. So there is really no difference in a certain sense between the perpetrator and the victim. And we don't forgive, we acknowledge, we honor, we give back things that we're carrying. We would say to someone like your mother, your father, an adult, we'd say, you are the big one and I am the little one. And I have carried something for you that is not mine to carry. Because a lot of the time, children will carry things they don't want to be happier, healthier, or wealthier than their family. So they will take things on to honor the mother, father, or the aunts, grandparents, or whoever. Even their financial struggles they may take on, or their suicide, or it could be anything they take on.
Like taking on their, like not letting them yourself be happier than your mother or wealthier or what? Why
Right.
do you do that?
A lot of people will, if you ask their body, and I do muscle checking, and I will say, I'm willing to be happier than my mother. Okay, right now I am. But if you ask your body, I'm willing to be happier than my father or my grandmother, my sister, my brother. A lot of the time, when we're the more spiritual kind of awake person, we tend to serve through taking stuff on, but it doesn't really help the other person, because if we take things on for someone, they don't get to have the experience, and they don't come to completion.
Mm.
So when you say, I've carried something for you that is yours to carry, and I will give it back to you now so that we can both be free.
Mm, mm.
And then that person as soul can learn the lesson they were actually there to learn. If they don't get a chance to learn it because you think you're the hero taking it on for them, they don't get to come to completion with
Yeah,
their own journey.
I guess like letting them be on their own journey. You can wish them well, but like not trying to help them or just let them do what they need to do, which is I think the hardest thing for people to do is like just to let, if you see somebody especially suffering, you want to fix it for them, but you really can't. It wouldn't help them if you do. Um, so can you take us on a journey about like letting go of um, not wanting to be happier than your mom or your grandmother or richer or healthier or whatever?
Yeah. In the case of you know, my mother, she had certain things, for instance, relationships that were very difficult. She just never really could have a great relationship. And it followed her really to the end. And she was very alone at the end of her life. So for me, I think I have been the one to hold that space for her so that I would not allow myself to have better relationships. So we simply acknowledge.
I know you're frozen. You're frozen on this end.
You.
Oh,
But I have carried something for you that is not mine to carry. And I'm the little one and you are the big one. And honor me if I choose to be happier in relationships than you could be, Mom. Honor me if I'm willing to have some very beneficial, wonderful, close, trusting relationships than you could have, Mom. I've carried this for you, and what's yours has been over here with me, but I am going to give it back to you now so that we can both be free.
So she either takes it or she doesn't, but at least you give it back to her.
No, she'll take it because that's how it works. She will take it because you're now moving that energy by the very fact you're saying those words as soul. She will take it. I had a very funny experience last Christmas. I was going away to Vancouver, where I am right now, and I said to my mom inwardly, I said, "Mom, I'm going to take you with me," and I sent her this huge wave of love. And my mom passed in 2015, December 3rd. I walked into the kitchen to get some rice from this cupboard that's next to my oven. And I reached up and these teeth fell into my hand.
Oh my God.
My mom had been gone for 4 years. Her dentures fell out of the cupboard into my hand from how, I have no idea.
Wow.
I was laughing. I mean, the chills came up and she was connected. We connected because I sent her that wave of love. She heard me and she acknowledged me with, my mom was a funny person. She had like a sense of humor. So that was just, you know, there is no disconnect. As soul, we are eternal. We never die. This is just a suitcase that carries our flame around inside. Our pilot light is just what's carried in here. And, you know, she just took on a form of personality of Mary when she was here. But as soul, she continues. And we can always talk to anyone in the past. And you can do this in your dreams as well. You can use your dreams to go back and visit someone and heal something in the past. And when you change something in a dream, it will change something in your physical life.
Wow. Wow. I know when you were talking about the teeth, my mom wanted a certain song at her funeral and we sang it and it was there. So now every time I hear that song, I'm like, she's here. And
Yes.
I know that she's here. So how about doing some like either temporal tapping or some of the exercises that you do that we can show people?
Yes, temporal tapping, that's something that I do. Yeah. Temporal tapping can be used for correcting, sorry, we just froze up a little bit. Okay, temporal tapping is tapping around your ear. It's on the bone around the ear. And you tap in the positive statements around your right ear, and you tap in the negative statements around your left ear. So I no longer choose to have problems in my relationships. I no longer choose to suffer and struggle in my relationships with men. I no longer choose to be alone and suffer the way my mother did. I no longer choose to be unhappy in relationships. I no longer choose to be disconnected from others. I no longer choose to close my heart to others. I no longer choose to be in a state of struggle and strife in my relationships. Okay, so that's the left side. That's where you I no longer, I won't, you know, this kind of thing is in your left side. And in the right, you're tapping in the positive. I will allow myself to be happy in relationships. I will allow myself to be close to others. I will allow my heart to open to greater, more beautiful relationships. I allow myself to embrace a relationship that will truly support me. I allow myself to have better relationships than my mother could have. I allow myself to find a truly loving partner. I allow myself to have great friendships. I allow my friendships to grow and to thrive. I choose to trust myself and trust others. So there you go. Like, you can make up the statements as you go, depending on the work that you need to do specifically for yourself.
And I think that's great because a lot of people, especially my group, they know tapping because I've had other tapping people on, but we don't have to do temporal tapping. So now people get a taste of what that's like, and it's quick and it's easy, and you have amazing videos out there with temporal tapping. Well, this has been fascinating as always. Like, you know,
Yes.
love listening to you, and I love watching your videos, and they just have done so much for me, and I know they'll help you guys too. And I just look for Darlene Montgomery's videos. She's just amazing, and thank you so much for being here. And I'm so happy that you're here. I appreciate it so much. So thank you guys. Till the next time.